Okay, so you can see how did we get these values. So I already explained the values which were given. Okay, so for example here 350 was given from 4:15 to 4:30. So you multiply that by 15 minutes, because you need the count for 15 minutes, and you divide by 12 because the count was given for 12 minutes. Okay, so in the end you get 15 upon 12, which is 1.25. So you multiply every given number with 1.25. Okay, and I showed you a small example in the last lecture as well, where we were converting 4-minute counts to 5-minute counts. Okay, so just keep it in mind that these numbers, the number of minutes, they can change. Okay. Secondly, so there was a value for 4:15 to 4:30, which you converted to 15 minutes, and there was a value from 4:45 to 5, which you converted to 15 minutes. But there was no value given for this lane for this time interval from 4:30 to 4:45. There was no value; it was blank. Okay. So how do we get this value? You take the average of the first and the third value. You get the value in the middle. So we took the average of 438 and 462, and you got this 450. Okay, so wherever you have a missing value in the middle, you will take the average of the value before and the value after to get the value in the middle. How did we get this value? Okay, I have to come here now. Okay, so this value we calculated 450, right? 450. Okay. So how did I get this 425? I don't have two values to take the average, right? I don't have the two values to take the average. What should I do? In this case, like he said, you apply the growth rate. So how to apply the growth rate? You take the next two values, these two. So I have 438 and 450. I have 438 and 450. Okay. I will take their difference, take the difference of these two values, and apply the same difference to the immediate value I have to get the missing value. I'll say it again. Take the difference of the next two values you have. Okay, the difference of 438 and 450, and whatever difference you get, you apply the same difference to the immediate value of the missing value. Okay, so I will apply the difference to 438, and I will get the value for the first cell. Okay, let me write it for you here. So 438 minus the difference of the next two values, 450 minus 438. Okay, and whatever you get from here will be your value, which is 425. Okay, let me write down the remaining values as well. Let me open it so I can write it down. Okay, so 425, 430, I have this one, 462, then 447. Okay. I will show you for the next lane as well. I will explain for the next lane as well. Just give me a second. 460, 468, 475, 9, 4, and 425. Now, how to do? So these values are calculated like I showed you. Either so first of all we converted from 12 to 15 minutes, and then we had the we had the value above and the value below, so we took the average. The last value again was missing. So again for the last value I cannot take an average. I'll apply the same growth rate equation, the growth rate approach, which is take the immediate value 425 minus the difference of the two immediate values, which is 444 minus 425, and you get 406, I think. Okay, at 406 you have written 405, so there's a, like I said, there's a slight difference here. Okay, and same thing here as well, but this one is correct, 348. Yeah, 348 is correct. Then 357 and 366, 75, 363, 350, 338, 325. Okay, so this value is calculated in the same manner as this value. Okay, so 357 minus the difference of 366 and 357. Okay, 88, 401. I think this is 401. 413, 419, 425, 407, 8, and 36 should be 369, I think. Okay, so like I said, plus minus 1, not a big issue. Any questions? So values were given for 12 minutes, I converted to 15 minutes. Then whichever values were missing in the middle, I took the average to get those values. And if the value was missing at the start or at the end, then I took the difference to calculate the value. Okay, so these are three things which have been done up till now. If any questions, please let me know. Any questions, any queries? This was the actual question. And this is what we have done up till now. Part A. We have done part A. We have calculated continuous 15-minute counts for each period and each lane. We have now 15 minutes value for all periods and for all the lanes. Okay. Now the next point here is to calculate peak hour volume, and peak hour factor for each direction and for the freeway. Calculate peak hour, the time of the peak hour volume, and peak hour factor for each direction as well as for the freeway. Freeway meaning it's the highway. Okay, freeway means the combined of the both directions. The combination of both directions is the freeway. Freeway is a type of highway we are analyzing. Okay, so freeway means the highway itself, meaning the combination of both directions. So now the values which we have calculated just now, these values. So each value is for 15 minutes, right? Each of these values for 15 minutes. So I will give you three options and you tell me which of these options is correct. What do we call these values which are taken for 15 minutes? Do we call them volume? Do we call them flow? Or do we call them rate of flow? The values which we have calculated just now, each value for 15 minutes, what do we call them? Out of these three values, out of these three options, what do we call a count which is taken for 15 minutes? Do we call it volume or flow or rate of flow? What do we call it? Rate of flow? No, rate of flow is basically, no, rate of flow is wrong. Rate of flow is when you convert the 15 minute to 1 hour. Okay, yeah, then it's flow. Yeah, it's flow. So here, and Hashim corrected himself, it's the flow. If a count is given for only 15 minutes without doing any calculation, it's a flow. Rate of flow is when you take the value and then you convert it to 1 hour. You take the 15 minutes value and you convert it to 1 hour, which you will do in the end. That will be the rate of flow. Okay, this value, these values are flow. These values are flow. Okay, now they are not asking for flow of each direction. They are asking for volume of each direction and the freeway. So first of all, I will calculate the flow of each direction and for the freeway, because these values are given for each lane. The values which I have calculated are for each lane. Okay, so I must calculate the value for each direction. So I have to combine the value of both the lanes, right? In each direction I have two lanes, so I have to combine the value for both the lanes for each direction, and then I will combine the two directions to calculate the value for the freeway. Okay, so this will be eastbound total westbound total, and then I have the freeway. Okay, freeway means the total of both directions. Okay, so for eastbound total, I will calculate. I will add the values for lane 1 and lane 2 for eastbound. Okay, which is 460 plus 425. That will be 9. No, sorry, 885. Right. Then we have 468, 438, 468 plus 438. I'm calculating the values just now, so if I make a mistake, you can let me know. Then you have 825. Then we have 462 plus 469, 931, 460 plus 447, 44 plus 431. Then we have 425 plus 416. We have 388 plus 348. Then this will be 758. Then we have 6979, 7. And we have 419 plus 375, 4, 425 plus 360. Then this will be 757. Then this is 388 plus 338, 369 plus 225, 694. Okay, and for the freeway, I will add the two directions. Okay, so the first value will be 736 plus 885. Okay, 885 and 736. It will be 885 plus 736, 1621, 758 plus 906, 12, 779 plus 805, 104, 794 plus 931, 1725. Then we have 788 plus 910, 16957 plus 875, 726 plus 841, 694 plus 806. Okay, any questions up till now? I've just added the numbers for each lane, and then I have added the numbers for both directions to get it for the freeway. Any questions? Clear? Okay. Now for volume. So volume is for 1 hour, right? Volume is for 1 hour. So the data is taken from 4 to 6 p.m. with 15 minutes interval. The data is taken from 4 to 6 p.m. and I have value for each 15 minutes, right? How many hourly volumes I can have for one direction? How many hourly volumes, or how many values of hourly volumes I can have for one direction? The values which you have calculated are for 15 minutes. So for each direction, how many hourly volumes I can have? If you look at the table, how many hourly volumes I can have for each direction? 2. Anybody has any other answer? 2. Okay, 2 is basically incorrect. Sorry. You tried, but 2 is incorrect. Why? Because I think I already mentioned it earlier as well when we were discussing the volume topic, that volume, hourly volume or yearly volume or daily volume, whatever value you are taking, it doesn't have to start from the first minute of the clock, from the first minute of the clock hour. Okay, so when I say hourly volume, any period of 60 minutes in which I have the value can be hourly volume. Any period of 60 minutes in which I have the value can be hourly volume. Okay, so for example, I can have an hour starting from 4 because I have the value from 4 to 5. I can also have an hourly volume from 4:15 as well because I have the values till 5:15. Okay, and I can also have an hour starting from 4:30 because I have the value till 5:30. And similarly from 4:45 to 5:45 and from 5 to 6 as well. Okay, so all these are possible values. All these are hourly volumes. Okay, so hourly volume doesn't mean that it has to be from the first minute of the clock hour to the last minute of the clock hour. No, it can be from any minute if you have the next 60 minutes value. Okay, so hourly value means the value which is for 60 minutes, any 60 minutes interval, any set of 60 minutes. It can be 4 to 5, 4:15 to 5:15, 4:30 to 5:30, or so on. Okay, so any set of 50 minutes value, 60 minutes value can be an hour. Okay, so I can have, coming back here now again, I will make some more columns. So eastbound, okay, the first hour can be from 4 to 5. Okay, this is where you don't have any confusion, don't have any problem. When you said 2 hours, this is the first hour you were assuming. Okay, so for the first hour I will add up these 4 values, right? I will add up these 4 values. This is 885 plus 906 plus 825 plus 935. So it will be 3547. Okay, now the next hour, as I said, will be from 4:15 to 5:15. Again, these are 60 minutes, so this can also be an hourly volume. Okay, so I'll add the highlighted values now, which gives me 3572. Okay, for the next one, I'll add the next 4 values. Six. Okay, same thing will be done for westbound as well. Okay, so you are adding again. Sorry. Values 736 plus 758 plus 779 plus 794 3067. Then you are adding 8 minus, so 3119. You're adding 757 minus 758, so 38. 746 minus 779, 3, 6, 4, 2965. Okay, and for the freeway, I don't have to do this. If you want to do this, again, you can do it. You have all the values for each 15 minutes. You can do it like we did for each direction. But since I know freeway is the total of both directions, I will simply add the values from the two directions. Okay, so I will add 3067 and 3547. I get it for the freeway. So 3067 plus 35. Okay, then 3119 plus 3572 632 plus, no, sorry, 3118 plus 3521 065 plus 307 965 plus 343. Okay, any questions up till now? We have 5 hourly volumes in each direction as well as for the freeway. Okay, the rest of the calculations are very easy. If you have any questions, let me know. Okay, so peak hour, what is the peak hour? The hour which has the highest volume. The hour which has the highest volume. Now keep, so if you look at the eastbound, which hour has the highest volume? This one, right? The highest value is this one, 3572. And which hour it belongs to? It belongs to 4:15 to 5:15. 4:15 to 5:15. Now a common mistake is that the students, since I have written it in front of 5 and 5:15 p.m., they say this is the value for 5 to 5:15 p.m. No, this is hourly volume. I had to write it somewhere. I had to write it in front of something. So that's why I wrote it here. But you should know hourly volume cannot be for 15 minutes. When I say hourly volume here, it cannot be for 15 minutes. It's for the whole hour. And I've written it in front of the last interval. But it is basically from 4:15 to 5:15. Okay. So eastbound hour is 4:15 to 5:15. The value of peak hour volume. So I've written the time here. Now the value is 3572, and then they're asking me calculate the peak hour factor. Now peak hour factor is calculated as peak hour volume divided by maximum flow rate. Okay, so peak hour volume I already know, 3572. For maximum flow rate, I will take the maximum flow for the same hour. Okay, for the same hour. So 4:15 to 5:15 means these 4 values. Among these values, the maximum is 931. Okay, so this becomes my maximum flow. Now this is not flow rate, this is flow. Like I asked you earlier, and you gave me, some of you gave me the right answer, that this is a flow value, not the flow rate value. So I need the flow rate. So to convert into flow rate, this is a 15-minute value. The 15-minute value, and each hour has 4 intervals of 15 minutes. So you can multiply this value by 4. This will convert it to flow rate. Or you can do one more thing. 15 minutes interval is 0.25 of an hour, 25% of an hour. So instead of multiplying by 4, you can divide by 0.25 as well. Okay, either multiply by 4 or divide by 0.25. You will still get the same answer because the interval has 15 minutes. Now you can calculate the peak hour factor. Okay, so here calculate the peak hour factor and give me the value. Okay. In the meantime, I will do it for the other direction. For westbound, the highest volume. Where is the highest volume? This one is the highest volume. Okay, and again this is from 4:15 to 5:15. Okay, and the peak hour volume is, the volume for this hour is 3119. Okay, and the peak hour factor again 3119 divided by, where is the maximum flow? Maximum flow is 794. So 794 multiply by 4 or divide by 0.25, whichever makes sense to you. Yeah, give me the values. Give me the values for the peak hour factors. Eastbound, westbound. Now we'll do it for the highway as well, for the freeway. Freeway peak hour is again the maximum value is from 4:15 to 5:15. Okay, peak hour volume is 6691, and peak hour factor will be 661 divided by. Now for this hour, which one is the highest flow? 1725, 1725, and 7. Okay, so this is for eastbound, right? This is for eastbound. 0.96. What about the westbound? 0.96 and 98. Okay. And what about the freeway? How much is the value for freeway? This value? Okay. Now keep one thing in mind, which you can see from here as well. The time of the peak hour, volume, obviously each direction has its own volume. The freeway has its higher volume than any direction. So volume is obviously different. And the peak hour factor. These values can be different for each direction and the freeway, which you can see here as well. For some reason, although it was not the case for the other section, I don't know how. But anyways, eastbound may have its own timing of the peak hour. It will have its own volume for the peak hour, and it may have its own value of the peak hour factor. Okay, which is different from the westbound or the freeway. Okay, so don't assume from yourself that since the timing for eastbound is this much, it will be the same for the westbound and the freeway. It can be different, and the volumes and the peak hour factors are different, already seen in this example. Okay, so these values can be different. Okay, don't assume and repeat the values without any calculation. Any questions? Should I move forward? Okay, so we have done part B. Part C is calculate flow rate, directional flow rates for each 15-minute period. Calculate directional flow rates for each 15-minute period. Okay, so directional means now I don't have to do it for each lane, and I don't have to do it for the freeway as well. I have to do it for eastbound direction and westbound direction. What do I have to do? Calculate the flow rate. You already have the flow values. The values which you calculated, the values from where you calculate the volumes are already the flow values. Okay, so now I just need to convert the flow into flow rate, like I did for the maximum flow rate for the peak hour factor. So I just did it for the maximum flow rate here. Now in part C, that's saying do it for all the 15 minutes intervals. Okay, so you can do it. Okay, I have the answers here. So take this value, either multiply by 4 or divide by 0.25 to convert it to flow rate. So what we did for the maximum flow rate and peak hour factor, we do it for all the 15 minutes values. Okay, why we are multiplying by 4? Because the value is for 15 minutes and 1 hour has 4 15 minutes interval. Or why we are dividing by 0.25? Because 15 minutes is 25% of an hour. Okay, so you just have to do the same thing with each number of flow. Okay, and you can see the values. Then we move on to speed studies. Speed studies can be done manually as well, and you have done it in the first submission of your project. So how do we, the most common method of doing the speed study manually is have a length of the segment. We call them the trap, a measured length of the segment, road segment. You call it the trap. Okay, so this is a short segment for which you already know the length, and then you record the time that car is taking to traverse this length, to pass this length. Okay, and this is what, and then you do distance upon time to find out the speed. This is one way of doing it manually. Another way of doing it is using the speed gun. Now you used, some of you used speed gun the app, but we have a speed gun the device as well. Okay, I'm saying it like these are movie names. No, like we have a device with the name of speed gun as well. Okay, and this device is like shaped in the form of a gun. Okay, and you can attach it with your car battery and keep it in your hand. We used to have it in King Fahd University. We have these speed guns, so we used to use them when I was there. So you have this speed gun, you can attach to the car battery and you can record the speed of the vehicle as they are passing in front of the gun, or you can put it on a tripod stand so you don't have to hold it, and then you do the same thing. Whenever a car passes in front of the device, you press a button, it will give the speed and you record it. Okay, so both of them are manual measurements. If you are using the stopwatch method, like the first one, which is having a trap length and then recording the time for the car to cross the trap length, then there can be two types of errors. There can be two types of errors when you are doing the manual measurement using a stopwatch. One is the parallax error, the other one is the error in operating the stopwatch. The parallax error and the error in operating the stopwatch. What is the parallax error? Parallax error is introduced because of the position of the observer and his line of sight with the end of the segment. Parallax error is introduced because of the position of the observer and his line of sight with the angle of his line of sight with the end point of the segment. Okay, let me show it to you here. So this circle is the position of the observer. The observer is here. The observer is here. Okay, so this is the start point of the trap length. So when the car crosses in front of me, I will start the timer. Okay, now when the car reaches this point, and this is my line of sight, see, now the car has already crossed me, and now I'm looking at the end point to know when I should stop the timer, right? When I should stop the timer. So I'm looking at the end point, and this is my line of sight. The inclined line is my line of sight. Okay, so you can see when the car reaches at this point, it looks like it has reached the end point because of the angle of my line of sight. I'm not looking at the end point in a straight line. Okay, this is an inclined line. So when the car reaches at this point, it seems to me that the end point and the car are now in line with each other. So actually I should have recorded the time, or I should have continued the timer till the car reaches this point, but because of the angle of inclination of my line of sight, I stopped the timer before I should have. Okay, I stopped the timer here. Okay, so I will underestimate the time now. I will underestimate the time when the car, which the car requires to go till the end point. Okay, so this is the parallax error, and how to deal with it, I will come to it later on with an example. So this is the parallax error, which is because of the inclined line of sight of the observer to the end point. Then we have the random error, which is because of the operation of the stopwatch. Now, if you are operating the stopwatch, you have to press the button for starting and stopping the timer, right? And we as human beings, we cannot work so accurately up till the fraction of a second. Okay, our precision is not while we are handling our fingers. Our precision is not till the fraction of a second. Okay, although it seems like when we are typing it on WhatsApp that we are very fast, but we are not. We are not so fast. Okay, so there can be some minor errors. Maybe you stopped the watch, or you started the watch half a second or 1 second earlier or later. Okay, sometimes you are anticipating that the car is about to come. Let me press the button, and you can be earlier, or sometimes you are late in pressing the button. So the timer may not be giving you the exact time. Okay, any questions?
Doctor, I guess also the perception reaction time deals with this errors, because sometimes it's so fast that you cannot realize that it reached the point. So
yes,
the perception reaction time can cause errors.
Yeah. So this is basically your perception. This error is related basically to your perception reaction. When do you feel you should stop the watch, and when do you feel you should start the watch? So sometimes you are early, and sometimes you are late. Okay, because this is happening very fast. Okay, you are looking at the car and you are already prepared to press a button. Okay, so one perception reaction time is with what we have discussed for the drivers. Okay, for the drivers, that he has to look at something, then he will think and so on. In this case, it's not so much. Perception reaction time is not so much, because you are already anticipating that you know what to do, and you know when you should do it. Like when the car will pass, I will do it, right? So you know at what event you should do it. Okay, so the perception reaction time is less in this case, and it can happen so fast that sometimes you can be earlier than you should have. Okay, but this is, you are right, this is related to perception reaction of the observer now. Observer. The good thing about this type of error, the error of operation of the stopwatch, is this is random and it can cancel out each other. It can cancel out each other. Okay, because for some vehicles you will be too fast, and so for some vehicles you will be slow. For some vehicles you will note it earlier, and for some vehicles you will start it or you will note it later. Okay, so some speeds will be higher than actual and some speeds will be lower than actual. So in the end, it will cancel out in the average. Okay, so manual operation of stopwatch, it usually cancels out. But what to do about the parallax error? Let us see it with an example. We have a speed study done manually using stopwatches. We have fixed a trap length of 400 feet. The observer was at the entry of the length, at the entry of the segment, and he was 60 feet away from the road. And at that point, his line of sight was making an angle of 60 degrees from perpendicular of the road. Okay, let me show it to you here. I'm talking about angle delta. So from the position of the observer, his line of sight is making an angle of delta from the perpendicular of the road. Okay, so this delta is given as 60 degrees. This delta is 60 degrees. So this distance d1 is 60 feet and the delta is 60 degrees. Now this observer, this particular observer who is standing in this position, records a time of 8.3 seconds for a car. For a vehicle, he records a time of 8.3 seconds. What is the actual speed of the car? What is the actual speed of the car? Okay, or what is the actual speed of this vehicle? Now I will do distance upon time, right? I will do distance upon time. So time is 8.3 seconds. Time is 8.3 seconds. Like I said, if there was an error because of the operation of the stopwatch, that's a random error. I will not do anything about it. Okay, I will just leave it. What to do about the distance? The car actually did not cover the distance d, which was the trap length. D is the 400 feet distance. The car actually did not cover 400 feet. It covered this much distance, because when it was at this point, it seemed to me that it has reached the end point. So the 8.3 seconds of time is not to cover distance of d, it is to cover distance d effective. The car did not cover d, it covered d effective. Okay, so how much is d effective then? I need to calculate the value of d effective then. Okay, now for that, if you look at this diagram, so the position of the observer and the two positions of the car, the two positions of the vehicle are making a right angle triangle. D effective is the perpendicular, D1 is the base, and delta is the angle. Small delta is the angle. Okay, so this angle is 60 degrees. D1 is 60 feet. Okay, he is standing 60 feet away from the vehicle. Okay, and I want to calculate D effective. Okay, so if I apply tangent here, so tangent of 60 degrees, because 60 is delta angle, okay, equals perpendicular upon base, perpendicular D effective, which I am trying to find out, and base is 60 feet, distance D1. How much is D effective? Give me the value of D effective. 60 into tangent 60. How much is it? 103.9. If you want to calculate the speed, now it's simple, because now you know the distance which was actually covered. So 103.9 divided by The time is recorded 8.3. How much is it? 12.5. Now this is in feet per second, okay? Because the distance was in feet, the time is in second. This speed is in feet per second. You want to convert it to miles per hour? You divide by 1.47. How much will you get? Divide by 1.47. 12.5 divided by 1.47, 8.5 per hour. Okay, so this is how we take care of the parallax error. You must know the position of the observer with regards to his distance from the road and the angle of his line of sight till the end point. Okay. Another way of getting rid of the parallax error is if you have D1, which is very long. If the value of D1 is higher, then the parallax will keep on reducing. So at some point, if the D1 is long enough, you can have a value and you can still see the start and the end point. So if you can take a value of D1 where you can stand and still see the start and the end point, the parallax error can be removed. The parallax error will be reduced if the value of D1 is higher. Okay, if D1 is higher, parallax error can be reduced. Okay, because the angle will also change. Okay, angle will also change because of D1. Angle will not remain the same. Second thing which you can see do to remove the parallax error is keep D small. Okay, so if you reduce the value of D, the actual trap length, which was 400 feet in the case of this example, if you reduce D, then the difference between D and D effective can be minimal. Okay, it will be less. So in that case, the value will be more accurate. Okay, so parallax error can be reduced if you increase the value of D1 or reduce the value of D. Make it smaller so that it is very close to D effective. Okay, so there are ways in which you can deal with the parallax.
Doctor?
Yeah.
Why don't he stop in the middle?
You can stop in the middle, then you will have, you will apply the parallax to both sides. It will cancel out. Yeah, you can stand in the middle. You can stand in the middle. You can. Okay, I was just talking about the way in which you can deal with it mathematically. But yeah, you can stand in the middle. Okay, but still you need to, reduce the value of D as well, because you will be looking at the start point as the end point with the parallax. Okay, that's why we prefer to stand at one point, either the start point or the end point. Okay, so then we are at least looking at one point in a straight line. Okay, but if the distance is short, you can stand in the middle, no problem. Okay, some of the common problems which are experienced in speed studies, these are the problems. Avoid measuring the speed of the fastest or the slowest vehicle. Okay, so fastest or slowest in comparison to others. So if everybody is going at 100 kilometers per hour, so another vehicle comes at 101 kilometers per hour, it's not the fastest one. Okay, but everybody is going at 100, one comes at 140. Remove this observation from the data. Okay, either don't take it at all, or if you have taken it by mistake, remove it. Okay, same thing with the slowest vehicle as well. Everybody is going at 50 and this guy comes at 10 kilometers per hour, remove it. Don't measure it, or if you have measured it, remove it. Okay, why? Because these values, the faster and the slowest values, which are way faster, way slower than the other vehicles, will disturb your average. Your average will become too high or too low just because of one or two cars. We don't want to do this. We don't want to disturb our data because of the fastest or the slowest car, which are only one or two in the whole traffic stream. How do I know? If I am looking at the road, if I'm standing on the road, I'm looking at other cars, I can easily assume, I can easily know which car is the fastest one and the slowest one, because I'm already looking at the other cars. So if the rear one comes out, which is going very fast or very slow, I can easily know that. Okay, or just for the sake of clarification, fastest one will go so fast that you will not have the time to record it. That is the fastest one, right? And slowest one is that poor guy who is under the pressure of everyone else. Everybody is giving him horns and flashes and so on. That is the slowest car. Okay, don't just leave that guy alone. Okay, don't record him. Okay, where you have platoon of vehicles, what do we mean by platoon of vehicles? Vehicles which have passed the intersection together. So if you have such vehicles which have passed the intersection together, then the vehicles which are at the front of the platoon, which are vehicles which are at the front of this group, they are the vehicles which are actually dictating the speed of the other vehicles. The vehicles which are coming behind them are just following them. They are just following them. Okay. So instead of recording the speed of the other vehicles, just take the speed of the first few vehicles at the front, and that will be enough. Okay. Then wait for the next platoon. Wait for the next group to come. Okay. And again take the speed of the vehicles which are at front. Okay. Don't take the speed of the heavy vehicles. Okay. Unless you are targeting the study for heavy vehicles. You are doing the study specifically for heavy vehicles. If this is not the case, don't take the speed of the heavy vehicles at all. Okay. So these are some points which you should keep in mind when you are doing speed studies even for your term project as well. Okay. Keep it in mind. Okay. So we will cover the next topic on Sunday, and this is I will post the protocol at the exam now. Okay, and later on you can ask me questions if you have them. Okay, but any questions related to what we have done today? Do you have any questions, any queries, any suggestions which you want to say?
Victor,
yeah.
Should we adjust the values from our reports? For example, if we had a very, very high value or very low value,
No, that was for the first 15 minutes, no problem. That was only for 15 minutes, no problem.
However, for next task, we should.
For the next submission, keep these points in mind.
Okay, thank you.
Any other point? Any other thing? Clear? Everything is clear? Okay. Thank you for listening. Thank you for participating. And have a nice weekend. I'll see you guys on Sunday, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.